Good evening and welcome to your Tennessee postgame show here on the Voice of College Football Network. Tucker Harlan and Jordan Bigley with you on this wonderful Saturday evening. Hope you all are doing well. If you're new here, please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at the Voice of College Football on YouTube. As you can see, we are live every Monday at 8 Eastern Time. We'll be live that time again this Monday to discuss the Vanderbilt game. But for now, that was an exorcism, and it felt very good. It felt very good to get rid of those demons that had been haunting Tennessee for 22 seasons. The Vols get it done 31-11 in the Swamp. Emphatic victory. This might be the most excited I have ever been over a win against a 3-8 football team, but you just consider the history in the Swamp between Tennessee and Florida and what Tennessee has failed to achieve down there so many times now. It's a huge win for this program. I've been saying it on our shows for a while now, but if you could find a way to win in the Swamp, if you're Josh Heupel, you can right a lot of wrongs. And in my book, he has. I think this is probably a top 5 most important win in the Josh Heupel era, just because this is such a huge monkey on your back. You have to get rid of it at some point. There's several other things that we could go on and on about that have not been done in a long time. I mean, for one, Joey Aguilar is just the second quarterback in the last half century to win in the Swamp. Only Casey Clausen managed to do that. Not even Peyton Manning could do that, or anybody else that was in that run in the 1990s up until Casey got there in the 2000s. So, yeah, you finally pull it off in the Swamp with a quarterback that you got out of the portal in the spring window. And Josh Heupel finishes 3-1 this season on the road in SEC play. That's the first time he's had a winning record on the road in SEC play as the head coach of Tennessee. But not only that, this is the first time Tennessee has had a winning record on the road in SEC play since 2006. So none of the people between Fulmer and Heupel were able to do it, and he finally did it. The build-up to this game was kind of weird. It didn't feel like there was as much energy around it, just because Tennessee is not playing for a college football playoff at this point. And then, of course, Florida is out of bowl contention, and you're just trying to sell yourself on who your next coach can be, or sell yourself to that next coach, I should say. But man, Tennessee, and they did. What's remarkable is they did this all in a half, basically. All 31 points Tennessee scored came in one half. We're accustomed to seeing Tennessee play in the Swamp and, have leads at one point, one particular season under Butch Jones. And that lead was blown easily. So you were able to do it tonight. Despite Florida having the ball much of that second half, you're able to kind of hold your own. And you get out of there with the win. I think I should probably stop with this opening monologue and let you get your thoughts out here, Jordan. Your initial thoughts on Tennessee's first victory in the Swamp since 2003.
Well, my initial thoughts is, man, this is an amazing feeling, because I personally have not watched Tennessee win in the Swamp, not one time in my life. And we were joking a couple of weeks, or last week and the week before, about me potentially waiting until I'm 30 years old to see a win in the Swamp, but not today. Man, what a performance, scoring 31 points in the first half. The pins are already out of the voodoo doll now. The curse is lifted. Tennessee can finally start changing some of the history around. I'm just ecstatic about Tennessee's win here today. And you know what? I guess I was a little bit right with my prediction. Not in the way that I wish that or I didn't want it to pan out the way that I initially predicted it. But hey, Tennessee scored 31 points like I thought, but they end up getting the win. Whereas I thought Tennessee was going to lose. I'll say this is a huge weight off of Tennessee's shoulders as a program, for the fan base. I mean, I guess at this point, Josh Heupel's got to be the only coach to win in the Swamp besides Phil Fulmer since the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there we go again. Josh Heupel starting to right some of the wrongs for Tennessee now. And now he's got a winning record against Florida, 3-2. And as someone that waited like most of my life to see even Tennessee beat Florida, it's nice to finally see a head coach get a winning record against them. How are you
Yeah.
feeling about this?
How am I feeling after this game? Relieved, very relieved that it is over. That's kind of how I approach Florida Week every single year because usually it's a much closer game than this, as we know. Sometimes you have to mount a pretty big comeback, like what you saw in 2016. Last year, you had to come back and win that game too. It's the first time you've won back-to-back games against Florida since 2003 and 2004. That's another feat we can throw in there. Just doing a quick Google search here. The last head coach to win in Florida before Josh Heupel and Philip Fulmer was Bill Battle.
Wow.
Majors never did it. Granted, they didn't play there all the time when Majors was the coach, but it's still a big monkey that you've gotten off your back. And I think that's really, really important for the program as a whole moving forward. And here's the other good thing is like you don't have to worry about this mental voodoo for 2 more seasons now. You don't have to worry about going to the swamp and playing a game for 4 more years with it hanging over your head that hey, you were a 7-win team going against a 3-win team in the swamp 4 years ago and you managed to lose to that team because we've seen many bad or not many but 3 in particular bad Florida teams beat Tennessee in the swamp here in the last 15 seasons. And, you know, Tennessee was not good in some of those years, but the last time it happened, Tennessee was at least solid, but better than 5-7. We'll just put it that way because that's what Florida finished that season. So big time for them to pull that off. So, and that's how you etch yourself in Tennessee history if you're Joey Aguilar. And I'm sure we'll talk about this more on Monday with the court case involving both Joey and Diego Pavia. But he could be looking at another year of eligibility. He didn't say he wanted it a while back in a press conference, but maybe he does, and we just don't know yet. But man, like if you do what Joey just did, you're going to be remembered fondly for the rest of your life by Tennessee fans.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so awesome to have this weight off of Tennessee's shoulders now. I mean, now like you don't have to fear about the swamp. I mean, not to underplay it and say that it's still not a dangerous place, but man, like 3 wins in 52 years. I mean, that's a tough look going on the road against Florida, but Tennessee finally gets the job done. Joey Aguilar, I mean, he was playing phenomenal in the first half. I mean, they kind of stepped off the brakes a little bit and started running the ball more, but I was a little worried he wasn't going to get to that 200-yard mark, and here we are. He finished at 204, so he continues the longest active streak in the FBS for 200-yard passing yard games. And if I'm not mistaken, every game that he's started in, he's thrown for 200 too. Like, I don't think it's just the active streak. I think every game that he's participated in, he's thrown for 200 yards. So good for Joey Aguilar. I was very impressed with Deshaun Bishop. You know, he went down, I think at least once, maybe even twice with an injury.
Sure.
Yeah, twice with the injury and still finished with 116 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And I mean, even Star Thomas was getting close to that 100-yard mark. He finished with 71. And, you know, I was thinking if Tennessee was going to win this game, it was going to be through the ground game, and they controlled it heavily throughout the game. I mean, what's the total yard marks here? Yeah, Tennessee had 248 yards on the ground opposed to Florida's 145. And I thought Tennessee's defense was spectacular in this game, arguably the best defensive performance of the season, in my opinion. And then the rushing attack was exactly what Tennessee needed to win the game. Very excited what I saw on the field today. Yeah.
So obviously very smart of Josh Heupel to let Joey Aguilar throw to Ethan Davis one last time to get over the 200-yard mark. It's like he always has somebody in his ear tell him, hey, let Joey throw one more here, because we saw it last week against New Mexico State just to get to that 200-yard mark, and then they put Merck in on, what was that, first or second down? It doesn't matter. But he hooked up with Ethan Davis on what was essentially that same play for the first touchdown of the game. So you get off to a hot start there. And you look at the ground, what Tennessee was able to do on the ground in this game. 248 yards, like you said, Jordan. 177 of that, I believe, was at halftime. So you were able to really push the ball downfield and really control the ground, which is something that I'm a little bit surprised by, just because one of Florida's more endearing qualities, I guess, this season is its ability to defend. Um, you just the defense in general has been the better part of this team, as opposed to what we've seen with that offense, just so up and down. And I know they're playing hurt on both sides of the football. So another reason why Tennessee needed to win this game, because they had a laundry list of guys listed out this week. Like if you weren't going to win this year, you had to find, or I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like if there was ever a year to win it, it was this year, just because those guys were out this season, and you took advantage of it. So good on Tennessee for doing that. And they kept mentioning this during the broadcast too, but Tennessee really had to work with what it got in the looks in the secondary, because their secondary was doing a good job of keeping Tennessee from getting downfield, because I think the incompletion intended for Brazel late in the game, I believe that's fourth quarter, that was the one time in the game where Tennessee really took a shot downfield. You just didn't see it from Tennessee in this game. And part of that, again, is what Florida was doing. End of the half, some people are griping about it a little bit. I'm actually not. And the good news is Tennessee won this game, so no one's going to remember this, hopefully. But, Tennessee decided to ground and pound, and it worked for the most part up until you got within the 10-yard line, and then you sent Max out there to kick the field goal, and you take a 28-point lead. And, right before then, you had held Florida to a field goal, and they missed the field goal. So it's a 6-point swing going into the locker room, which is big. I mean, not only are you avoiding the double dip, but you're actually getting a little something in return there. And then special teams in general tonight, I actually thought did a pretty nice job from Tennessee. Jackson Ross in particular had a few good punts to pin Florida within the 5-yard line. And again, some of this is Florida's own doing. I tweeted that during the game. Like, of course, you had the missed field goal to end the half, and then the opening kickoff in the second half. Jaden Baugh made a pretty big mental mistake, and they downed the ball at the 2. I guess it's similar to what happened with Tennessee at Alabama 2 years ago, although that was a little different, because there was like a phantom fair catch call, so they just stuck the ball at the 2-yard line. I don't know what that was all about. So, I mean, other than Max's 50-plus yard miss, not much went wrong for Tennessee in the special teams department tonight, and kind of felt like it was a positive impact, even though you didn't really get anything in the return game.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, they didn't do too much flashy in this game, in my opinion, but I mean, they did exactly what they needed to get the job done. Like, as you mentioned, like, they were pinning punts deep on special teams. They're running the ball efficiently. I mean, Joey Aguilar, he played well, even though his numbers don't really show it. I mean, Tennessee just played, just tough-nosed football and came out there and, like, I mean, winning the game at halftime, I mean, that's such a good sight, because I was so worried going into this game, but Tennessee handled it from start to finish. And it's nice to see Tennessee start off strong and finish strong in the game. And you mentioned the New Mexico State game at one point. This is actually the least amount of points Tennessee's given up in a season, except for the New Mexico State game, because they gave up 9 to them, and now they've given up 11 in this game. And this is SEC opponent, and not just an SEC opponent, arguably the biggest rival Tennessee has to face year in and year out until now, because they're changing everything with the conference opponents. But I mean, Tennessee came out here, dominant performance. I thought the defense was playing spectacular. I thought Hobbs was playing well, and like I was saying before the show, it says that he has 2 sacks on ESPN's thing, but I'm pretty sure, or he had 1 sack on ESPN's thing. Pretty sure he had 2 sacks in the game. I mean, he's continuing to play strong. I mean, Aaron Carter had that big hit early into the game, and that was nice to see, considering that he was coming off of injury. It just seems like Tennessee's starting to get everything together, and I know Florida's only a 3-win team. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, if you look at some of their games on their schedule before. I mean, they played the game close against Georgia. They played a game close against Ole Miss. I mean, and they were undefeated at home outside of South Florida. So, I mean, I still think that even though Florida's record's pretty bad, I mean, you know the talent that they're going to produce just based off of the recruits. So it's just really nice seeing Tennessee just finally handle Florida. I mean, we've seen Tennessee win Florida, not many times, but we haven't really seen Tennessee handle Florida for all 4 quarters. And that's what we got to see today. And it's just a great feeling.
Yeah. I think I forget what exactly the number was, but they had single digit yards in the first quarter. I want to say it was like 1 total yard.
They had one, yeah, at one
Technically,
point.
because they had the holding penalty early on in the game that wiped away what was a pretty big play to Jaden Baugh. I thought at that point, before I saw the flag, I was like, "Oh no, here it comes again." This thing is about to snowball, but no, that happened. You mentioned the Arion Carter hit. I think that was a great tone setter. The first play of the game for the defense was a sack. Edwin Spillman getting in there and getting a sack. I really feel like that first defensive possession was a real tone setter for this game, and something that we were wondering where this defense or when this defense would show up again, and it finally did for this game. So glad that they were able to do that this time around, even though they didn't force any turnovers in this game. But so yeah, they come out and they hold Florida to, I believe it was 110 in the first half, which is a pretty low number for what we're accustomed to seeing out of this defense. Lagway 11 of 17, 116 yards and a touchdown in this game. The touchdown, of course, to Jaden Baugh there in the fourth quarter. Baugh going for 96 on the ground. Pretty solid game for him, even though a lot of that was in the second half, kind of in garbage time. But, they didn't give up. I won't say that they gave up. I am a little surprised that they stuck to the run that much. Maybe it's just one of those deals where, hey, we know we don't have enough receivers to really try and run with this team. Because they were down, because they're down both the Wilsons, Dallas and Trey Wilson, no relation. And then there were 2 or 3 other guys that they were down at wide receiver too. So they're pretty decimated there. I don't know if that's what forced their hand, but they had to run the ball a lot in the second half, or at least they decided to, which is something that's a little surprising when you're playing from 31 down, unless you're just conceding the game at that point.
Yeah, I don't know if they didn't trust in Lagway or what. I know that he's had 13 interceptions on the year, only 12 passing touchdowns. I don't know if they were just afraid for him to throw it deep, but I mean, I remember he had a big run at one point. He had like a nice spin move, but I mean, Tennessee kept him contained for the most part, but I'm kind of surprised Tennessee didn't get any turnovers in this game, to be honest. I mean, I was thinking it was going to be one of the keys in the game. I mean, you see how Lagway's played throughout the year. You would assume that he would throw at least one interception in this game. And then Tennessee, I think they're second in the country right now in defensive touchdowns. So you would assume that Tennessee could at least capitalize off one turnover, but I guess they didn't need to. I mean, Florida, Tennessee just seemed to stop them in every way possible. I mean, I was worried about Baugh going into the game because I know that he's one of the better running backs in the SEC. But I mean, even 96 rushing touchdowns, keep him out of the end zone. I mean, Florida did score that touchdown late in the game, but it was like in garbage time. I'll say this, man, like I was so disappointed when Florida kicked that field goal because I was hoping for a shutout so bad. Because not only would it be so good for Tennessee to finally break this 22-year streak by dominating in the Swamp, but to shut them out too. That would be a huge statement, but I mean, I'll take the win any way that we could get it. I mean, especially after all Tennessee's been through in their history of Florida. But yeah,
it's funny you should mention that. They had a streak going of 471 consecutive games with a touchdown, and then they got the field goal, 472 consecutive games scoring. Actually, it's just scoring in a game, not a touchdown. So they keep that streak alive, because I remember there was a few years ago in 2022, they were playing Oregon State at the Las Vegas Bowl. Anthony Richardson's opted out of it. They're down like 30 in the game, and then they kicked a field goal just for the sake of keeping that streak alive. So that's important to them, but of course they got a touchdown later on in the game, so it's not as if it was that worrisome to try to keep that streak alive. But one thing that I think has kept the streak alive in Florida against Tennessee for so long is fluky incidents, disasters for Tennessee, second quarter collapses like we saw the last time they went down there, second half collapses, fourth quarter collapses, as we saw one time under Butch Jones, maybe twice under Butch Jones. There were multiple instances tonight where Tennessee was on the brink of disaster, and it didn't happen. And all of these instances were in the first half, funnily enough. I remember there was a play where Joey completed the pass to, I forget which receiver it was, maybe Mike Matthews. There is a defensive end just screaming off the left side about to drill him, and he gets the pass off, and then suddenly it's 15 yards down the field, and you're doing just fine. You're in business. There was another instance where he was stripped. It was the one sack of the game that Florida got, but they can't recover the football. I think a play or two later, it's 3rd and 17. Hand the ball off to Star Thomas. He looks like he's about to house it, but Florida DB doesn't give up on the play. Tries to strip the football, but as the ball is being stripped, Star repossesses it, gets his elbow down before the ball can pop out, before it can cross the goal line to avoid a touchback. I want to say there were more instances in the game tonight. I'm blanking on which ones they could have been. I'm sure these will resurface at some point, but those are the kinds of things that have gone Florida's way in the swamp for so long. And for none of those breaks to go Florida's way tonight, penalties for one was another thing too. Like the holding penalty that they called when Baugh had that long catch and run in the first quarter, that was big. You had a roughing the passer call on a play where Joey got hit late in the backfield. Multiple instances like that have haunted Tennessee in the past. And that's what got Florida tonight. A lot of things that some of them are controllables, but Florida making efforts on plays to try and wreak havoc and make it tough on Tennessee to try and get a win on the road tonight. Like I mentioned, with the strip sack, and then of course Star getting almost stripped at the goal line. That's what has won Florida these games in the past. But Tennessee managed to dodge the disasters tonight repeatedly.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see things going in Tennessee's way, because it's not just against Florida. I mean, so many times I've seen watching Tennessee's games, just things just don't seem to go the right way. Like an oddball penalty by the ref will derail the entire game. But I mean, Tennessee, like few mistakes. I mean, I don't think they really started getting penalties until the second half. I mean, Tennessee was controlling the game in terms of penalties for the most part. And you mentioned Mike Matthews at one point. I've been a little critical on his drops this season, but he only had 3 catches in this game. But I thought Mike Matthews played pretty well then there. I remember he had that one slant catch that was pretty nice. He impressed me a lot during this game, and it's good to finally see him step up. And then Ethan Davis too, man. Like you're talking about Miles Kitzelman being down with the injury, one of the leaders on the team. And I thought Ethan Davis played very well as too. I mean, he had the most catches on the team, most yards. He had a touchdown. I think that he could have a special career here at Tennessee. And, he's been the times that he has been on the field, he's been an excellent blocker for Tennessee as well, not just as a pass catcher. So I think Tennessee's got someone special with him. And we talked about it in New Mexico last week, talking about some of the freshmen that got to play. It's just exciting seeing players like Ethan Davis and like even Mike Matthews, even though he's played well this season, like seeing him start to emerge a little bit more so he can start to have a bigger role in the offense next season. But yeah, I mean, I think Tennessee's got some pieces that are starting to come together better. And, it kind of sucks that it's late in the year to see things like Tennessee's defense stepping up and seeing some of these players that you hope towards the beginning of the year to, do good, but they're just now starting to. But it's definitely a good sign for the future, and hopefully Tennessee can continue up the success with some of their players that we haven't seen as much from earlier in the year.
Yeah, I was just checking to see that the drive chart here. Joey Aguilar did not have an incompletion until late in the second quarter. Only had 5 incompletions for the game. So impressive stuff for him. You mentioned the tight ends and Ethan Davis getting involved tonight, and that's one. I'm not going to say that I was glad that Miles Kitzelman didn't play in this game tonight. Like, that's kind of mean. But Ethan Davis is a guy that you have been happy to have in your program for 3 years now. Didn't get to play much his freshman year, it really at all, just because of injuries. Last year he was used rotationally because you had Stays and Kitzelman getting playing time over him. Kitzelman has been the guy this year over him, and although Davis has fought through some injuries at points this season as well, which is part of the reason why we haven't seen him on the field as much. But I just think from a talent perspective, he is a much better player than Miles Kitzelman. And it's one of those weird tendencies where, these guys love to play their veterans, guys that have been in college football for, in some cases, 5 or 6 years, like a Miles Kitzelman, over an Ethan Davis, who may have more talent than that guy. And I think that does bother me a little bit, that tendency. But good for Ethan Davis for showing up tonight. Also, shout out Jack Van Dorselaer and Desan Brame. Brame had a couple catches late in the game, one of which was for a first down. I know Van Dorselaer had one that at least got close to a first down. So you got those guys involved. I enjoyed the little heavy package, too, with Jackson Moy and Nathan Robinson in there. I know Tennessee's run that before. But good to see some of those other guys get involved in the game that haven't in the past as much. And then you saw some younger receivers get playing time there toward the end. I think Rodarius Jackson made an appearance. Didn't see Travis Smith anywhere, at least that I can remember. But you had several different people getting involved tonight that haven't been as involved in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely nice to see, and especially Tennessee's starting to get a little bit of momentum. I mean, I know that they've only played against a 3-win Florida team in New Mexico State in the past couple weeks, but I think Tennessee's on the right track right now to have a competitive game against Vanderbilt next week, which I'm excited to talk about on the podcast on Monday. But yeah, I mean, I've been liking from what I've seen Tennessee the past couple of weeks. Like I've said, I think the defense has really been stepping up, which is nice because they've been a liability throughout most of the season. I'm a little concerned with the injuries of the offensive line. Did Wendell Moe end up coming back in the game? Because I don't think he did.
He never started in the game. I think they listed him as available or he was not on the report. But it's not one of those things where it's like you have to play the guy if he's not on the report. They just had him listed as available. Looked like that pretty much everybody who went down in this game got right back up and played in it. Because I know Sanders went down at one point, but he got up just fine. Deshaun Bishop, of course, went down a couple times. He seems to be fine. So you get out of the swamp without any major injuries, which is good news. And hopefully you can get a little healthier. First time we've seen Arion Carter used a lot really since the Alabama game, right? Because he played a little bit in the Oklahoma game, did not play against Kentucky, didn't really play against New Mexico State either. So good to get him back in the fold. Of course, as we mentioned earlier in the show, he had one of the biggest plays of the game just in terms of just getting a tone setter early on in the game with that hit on DJ Lagway, just with the design quarterback run on second and forever. So good to have a vocal presence like him out there. And it's also been good, too, just in his absence to have guys like Edwin Spillman, Jaden Perlotti get to step up. Spillman, of course, had that first sack in the game tonight. He's competing right now with Carter for most tackles on the team. So that's good news for him. Good news for Tennessee's future, for sure. And here's a question that I just thought of. How much do you think Boo Carter getting dismissed motivated the team this week? You're free of your locker room cancer.
Well, shoot.
Do we think that was a motivating factor at all?
I mean, it could be because I mean, these past 2 weeks, I've seen Tennessee's defense play their two best games of the season, and the common denominator there is that Boo Carter wasn't in attendance for both the games. I don't know if that's the reason why or not, but it surely seems like Tennessee's defense has played more inspired in his absence.
Yeah, yeah, it has, and he hasn't been on the field for what a month on defense now, basically, because it was the Kentucky game was the last time he saw it. Of course, he's not in the program anymore, but did not play in the New Mexico State game. Yeah, the bye week, and then he just returned punts against Oklahoma. Dwan Morris was returning punts tonight, and yet a little bit of a change on the kick returns as well with Peyton Lewis being out. I forget were they running Morris back there as well
Well,
too.
they had Thomas back there at one point, I noticed as
That's
well.
right. They did have Star back there. You're right. So they got Morris involved in the game too, just with Lewis out with the injury, which I thought, all things considered, Dwan Morris had a pretty nice game too. That's the other good part about this win is we mentioned the tight ends already, and then a little bit of some of the younger receivers, but you get a guy in Dwan Morris involved in the system, and I don't know what Star's eligibility is after this year. I think he may be gone. Although I'm not 100% certain on that. May need to go back and look. But another guy that you can get in the fold and be confident about going forward now that you've seen him get quality reps in a hostile road environment.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to see him get some more reps. I mean, that was one of my disappointments with last week's game in New Mexico State. Like, I know that he did play, but he didn't seemingly play too many snaps. And I know Morris' stats weren't crazy for this game. I mean, he had 41 yards on 14 carries, but it's nice to start getting him warmed up, get ready for next season because Tennessee's going to need him. Because I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that Star Thomas is gone. Like you said, I don't know what his eligibility is, but I'm pretty sure he played 2 years at New Mexico State and 1 year at Duke. So I don't think he would have any eligibility left to return for Tennessee. And, Tennessee doesn't have a running back in the class of 26 yet. So, I mean, Morris could be the running back of the future. And, I think as he gets more size on Tennessee's team, because I think he is on the smaller side, I think once he gets more size, I mean, he can be an active contributor on the team. And, I mean, he came out of a strong team in high school. I mean, playing for Oakland, I mean, they've been facing some of the strongest competition in Tennessee year in and year out, the Murfreesboro area. So it's definitely good to see him getting some more carries in the game. And like I said earlier in the show, I mean, I think the rushing attack was the difference maker in this game. And I mean, Tennessee I'm looking right here. They had 4 players with at least 20 yards rushing because Mike Matthews had that one run right there. So, I mean, Tennessee was sharing the wealth to everybody in this game, even in Peyton Lewis's absence.
Yeah, and just to go back and correct ourselves, or at least confirm what we thought. Star Thomas is a senior this year. He played 2 seasons at New Mexico State, a year at Duke, and a year here at Tennessee. So, barring any bizarre COVID eligibility years that he could pull out, random red shirts that he could potentially pull out, they're not going to have him in the backfield next season. So, all the more reason why you should be appreciative of what you saw from Dwan Morris tonight, because that's a guy that you're going to have to get more involved next season. Because assuming Tennessee does not go after anybody in the portal, because you'll have Bishop and Lewis back, you don't have a guy in this incoming class at running back. Although there is a pretty big one in the 2027 class. Did you see what he did last night, Jordan?
Oh, yeah, like 430 something yards rushing or something like that.
431 rush yards and 7 rush touchdowns for David Gabriel Georges. You're fighting hard against Ohio State for him, but there's the in-state tie. So again, there's a lot of there's a lot of things to be excited about with the future of this team. We'll talk about one of them. We won't go in depth on it right now, but we will talk about one of them on Monday night because Tennessee did get a commitment in that 2027 class. But that's one thing that's been great about this Heupel era is that you've been able to get in plenty of quality recruits. Like, we're really just getting the tip of the iceberg to seeing what David Sanders is right now. He's not been healthy for a lot of the season, but we're hoping we could see a big step forward for him next season. I feel like because he's shown that he can play out there with the big boys as a true freshman, and it's a little bit of baptism by fire in a league like this, but he's been able to do it pretty well. And again, you only give up 1 sack tonight, and it was on a strip sack where you jump back on the football. So really, the offensive line held up very well tonight. I only counted 2 pre-snap penalties because there was the one with the 2 penalty. There was the 2 penalty possession in the third quarter where Tennessee had to punt, and then there was like the false start just because in the final seconds of the game when Tennessee had the ball within the 15-yard line. By the way, Florida fans, they have this chant every time you commit a penalty. They go, "Move back, you suck," with their band, and they were doing that down 20, about to lose to Tennessee for the first time in 22 years in the Swamp. It was kind of funny. It was really funny.
Well, they don't know how to handle themselves losing to Tennessee, especially in their home stadium. I was shocked going into this game. I mean, credit to Florida. I like dissing on them a lot, but I saw heading into this game that they actually sold out the game, and that's pretty impressive for a team that's only got 3 wins. So that shows you how much the hate runs deep between Tennessee and Florida, and it's nice to finally get some bragging rights over them in that sense. But you were talking about some of the recruits coming to Tennessee and how Josh Heupel's been doing excellent recruiting. And I've also thought too, I mean, think about all the players that he's pulled from the transfer portal as well. Like if McIntyre ends up playing next year, say he's the starter, say Joey Aguilar doesn't return. I mean, he would be Tennessee's or Josh Heupel's first homegrown quarterback. I mean, outside of Nico, and we saw how that went. I mean, so we don't even know what Josh Heupel's potential is, like building a quarterback from the ground up, because the one quarterback Tennessee had, he left after a year of playing there, and like not just like Hendon Hooker came out of the transfer portal, but you're talking about Jermod McCoy, you're talking about Mo this season. I mean, Tennessee has been knocking out of the park in the transfer portal too, and not even getting huge names in the process. I mean, almost every year when Tennessee's gotten these guys from the transfer portal, people don't even bat an eye at it, and then they end up becoming some of the star players on the team. So what Josh Heupel's been cooking up with Tennessee has definitely been working. And man, I'm so excited to see some of these younger guys develop more, because I don't think Josh Heupel's had a full opportunity, even though that he's been the head coach at Tennessee for 5 seasons now.
No, he doesn't, or he hasn't, and that is something that both excites and scares me a little bit, because he will be going into year 6 next year, and he's not truly developed a high school quarterback, and he's supposed to be this quarterback whisperer. But we're not going to crap on Josh tonight. I'm not going to do that. Not when he's done something that I haven't seen or vividly remember seeing in my lifetime. It has happened, but I was a year and a half old. I don't remember anything from those days. Speaking of recruits, Lagonza Shady Hayward played in the game tonight for Florida. Did you hear them call his name? Yeah. Florida flipped him in the near the end of the cycle. Him, and there was another DB. I think either Florida or Florida State flipped him. It was the Onus Conan-Bonnie guy that like moved from England to South Carolina, but yeah, Lagonza Shady Hayward got to play in the game tonight. He was one of the guys that pressured Joey, I think, on that strip sack. I don't know if it was him who caused the fumble or not. I saw him shaking hands with McIntyre behind the post-game interview with Josh Heupel and Holly Rowe. So that's a fun throwback from the past.
Yeah, and it's a shame that I mean, we don't wish for anybody's injuries or anything like that, but I think it would have been a cool story if Harrison Bailey got to play in the game today. Because I forget that he even exists, man, to be honest. I mean, it seems like he hasn't played at Tennessee in like 10 years, but yet he's still playing college football here for Florida. It's just crazy still seeing his name thrown around. He's got to be like my age.
No, he's my age because
Really?
his freshman year was my freshman year at UT. I remember he because I tweeted this a while back. His first completion at UT was in that blowout game that Tennessee lost to Kentucky with Pruitt. His first completion was to Malachi Weidman down the Tennessee sideline. That's a blast from the past right there.
Yeah.
If any of you watching this remember Malachi Weidman, you get some brownie points from me, because that's a name that I don't expect most of you guys to remember. He's not that high up in the JJ Peterson index, but he's he's one of the more forgotten about recruits recently to come to Tennessee, just because of the way things ended with the Pruitt era. But again, you're glad that you're past those days. You're 8-3 now. You got a big monkey off your back tonight. You really did. We're gonna keep saying it, but even though this was a 3-7 team coming into the game, you have lost to bad Florida teams. I'm not going to say they were worse than this one necessarily, but similar Florida teams in the past. And then just the fact that you haven't won down there in so long, I think adds to this high that we all have right now.
I mean, heck, I mean, we've watched enough Tennessee games to even see Tennessee struggle when Florida's had tight ends as their quarterbacks. I mean, they had 2 tight ends on their roster one year that ended up playing in the NFL, and Trey Burton and Jordan Reed, both of them got snaps at quarterback. So, I mean, Tennessee went from losing the tight ends at quarterbacks to finally getting a win in the Swamp. I mean, I don't care if Florida didn't win a single game this year. I'm still going to be happy with this, because I truly believe that there's some weird voodoo going on for all these years, and it feels like the curse is finally lifted. Now, as a Tennessee fan, I don't know about how the team and the coaching staff feels, but I'm no longer scared of Florida after this game. And I have been scared of Florida ever since I've started watching football with Tennessee.
Yeah, I think your fear of Florida, I think it can come back depending on who they hire. And I don't know who they're going to hire.
I don't think it's
honestly.
going to be Lane Kiffin, to be honest.
I don't think it will
he's
either.
going.
I think it has to be Ole Miss or LSU that ends up with Lane Kiffin next year, not Florida at this point. Even though I do think, because they were teasing at it. And speaking of coaches and ghosts of Florida, Tennessee past, that opening narration from Tim Tebow and the fact that they were honoring Urban Meyer, I was just like, oh dear, really?
What a great man.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you what was even worse. 2 years ago when I was down there, of course, they do the Mr. Two Bits tradition. They had Trey Burton as the honorary Mr. Two Bits for that game.
Wait, is that where they used to have that old guy dance on the field? Is that the
yeah. Yeah. And they had Trey Burton be him, and I was like, seriously, you're just digging up all the old ghosts from the past. But I don't know. Maybe Tim Tebow and Urban Meyer appearances are their version of the Manning curse that existed for so many years at Tennessee. Because Tennessee had no problem handling business in Florida. And when Urban Meyer looks back and says Tennessee was absolutely screwed back in April, you're going to have to walk those words back now. He already did, and I actually applaud him for it, because many of these national media pundits will double down on their horrible takes, but he didn't, and I actually do respect him a little bit for that. I still don't respect him because, there's pictures of him floating around with women in bars when he was a coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars that ended up getting him fired down the road. So I can't necessarily say I respect him as a human being. But no, good to see not so great things happen to not so great people tonight. I guess is the best way to put that.
Yeah, and I've never been a fan of Urban Meyer either, man. I mean, say what you want about Steve Spurrier and all the trash that he used to talk with Tennessee, but Steve Spurrier, I think it was all fun and games. Urban Meyer, man, I feel like I saw right through him from the start, man. And I'm surprised Florida's okay with him. Like, I know that he won 2 national championships for him, but I mean, he did them dirty. He saw writing on the wall as soon as Tim Tebow's gone. He was like, I ain't going to lead John Brantley to a national championship. I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go sit in a booth for a year and then go to my alma mater where I truly want to be and coach there. But hopefully they are Florida's Peyton Manning curse. I would love to see Tim Tebow and Urban Meyer at more games if it means Tennessee wins. But yeah, I don't have any love for Urban Meyer, especially the off the field stuff too, and the stuff that he allegedly covered up too that was going on during his time at Florida. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and not to mention, he had what, like 80 players on that 2008 Florida team, and like I think 41 of them were arrested.
41 is the number, yeah.
And 2 of them were murderers.
Yeah.
Too. Like, come on, man. What kind of culture are you running down there? People want to talk about Georgia being bad now. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't know what's going on with all the vehicular incidents with Georgia, but I mean, they don't hold a candlestick to what Florida was doing during the late 2000s.
No. Unfortunately, there have been some deaths that occurred with the Georgia thing. There was the staffer and then the player who died. And the thing that's crazy to me about that is like they still haven't learned from their mistakes. They keep doing it. It's not been as bad this year. I feel like it's toned down a little bit, but still, like they've had a ridiculous number of people arrested for speeding.
It seems statistically impossible, man. Like
that's another one of Steve Spurrier's jokes. He's like, I always love playing Georgia. You can bank on them having 2 or 3 of their best players suspended for doing something. That team turned into Florida down the stretch because Florida, man, this is part of the reason why so many people hate Florida is because they have had so many, and this extends past the Urban Meyer, like Will Greer doing PEDs right before the Tennessee game, and then like for 2 weeks after that, then they realized he was doing them, and then he conveniently got kicked off the team right afterward. Antonio Callaway and like 3 other people committing credit card fraud on that team. I mean, there's a lot of just awful people that have come out of that football program. But here's what's crazy is like, how on earth do all of those people go down there, and yet 2 of their greatest quarterbacks ever are like 2 of the nicest people to ever exist on this planet, only behind Jesus himself and Danny Werfel and Tim Tebow. Like, how does that happen?
It is crazy, man. It's showing the power of God right there, man. I mean, putting that team together and keeping them. I mean, I guess you wouldn't even say keeping them out of trouble because they stayed in trouble, but they somehow managed to win and not fall apart through all of that. I mean, it's a little impressive to an extent. Like I saw this meme when I was younger. It was pretty funny. It was pregame warmups at Florida. It was Tim Tebow throwing the ball around, and you had Aaron Hernandez and Riley Cooper in the picture, all in this frame. And it was like a priest, a racist, and a murderer walk into a bar.
No.
And it's just crazy to think that those 3 people, not to mention all the other shenanigans that was going on in Florida during that time, but like 3 prominent figures. And like, I mean, you got Tim Tebow, that's like the holy boy that's done everything right, the poster child. And then you have Riley Cooper and all the incidents that he got in with the Eagles that reportedly happened. And then Aaron Hernandez, I mean, everyone knows his story. Just a lot of history there with Florida, but you know what? I'll give him Florida props. I haven't heard as much as of late. Georgia's kind of stolen their thunder, as we mentioned. So I think maybe Florida's settled down a little bit.
Hey, in fairness, that was Tennessee at one point in time in the former years. That's a strange trend that happens with teams that win national championships. Aside from Alabama, I don't know of too many Alabama players that were just awful people off the field under Nick Saban, mainly because he was, a known disciplinarian and didn't try to cover things up necessarily. But that's one thing too that we have to be thankful for with the Heupel era as we enter this Thanksgiving week. Not too many disciplinary problems off the field, and if they do exist, you just kick the guys off the team, as we saw this past week.
Yeah, I mean, like, how many incidents has Tennessee really had under Heupel outside of, I think, like Brazel? He may have had like a minor, like, I think incident where, like, what was it, like unpaid parking tickets or something like that, or maybe he sped or something.
Yeah, he was going a little too fast or driving without insurance and a suspended license. James Pierce got arrested once for, I think, maybe trying to run from the cops in a routine traffic stop, which is not a smart idea. There was another dude who, he did something with a cat, I think, in 2021. There was another incident that happened like right next to my apartment in 2022. Jalen McCullough chasing that drunk dude out of his apartment because he came in and started yelling things at his girlfriend. But honestly, I would have, if I had been Jalen McCullough, I would have probably chased that guy down too. If that had happened with me, and if I had a girlfriend and that happened, I would absolutely chase that guy down and probably do some awful things. I wouldn't be able to restrain myself. I'll just say it. I wouldn't be able to do it. But no, you haven't had many incidents, and you had many incidents under the previous however many coaches. I mean, oh my goodness, with the whole thing with Lane Kiffin and
The convenience store.
oh yeah, Jansen Jackson, Nikese Richardson. Oh, what's his name?
Was it
Mike
Gerard?
Edwards was the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those incidents briefly, and then what happened to Jansen Jackson after he left Tennessee was very unfortunate as well. I mean, man, that was a guy that I thought was going to be the next Eric Berry. And it's crazy because he played on the same team with him. He had a lot of potential, man, but he threw it all away, unfortunately. But yeah, not as much trouble out of Tennessee as of late. I forgot about that McCullough situation too, because I'm pretty sure they made it seem worse, or the media made it seem worse than it was at first. And then like news came out that he was trying to defend his girlfriend in the situation and everything. And then everyone's like, oh, okay, well, no problems here. I mean, dude was just trying to do the right thing. But yeah, I mean, there hasn't been much trouble under Josh Heupel, which has been a pretty good thing. I mean, Tennessee had a bad past before too, because I didn't really know about it until my dad ended up telling me. But there's like some star players at Tennessee that had some of the vehicular problems that Georgia had. Like I'm talking about like some all-time greats at Tennessee.
Oh yeah. It happens.
It happened. But thankfully we don't have to worry about those problems much anymore under Josh Heupel.
Yeah. So as we wrap up here, we'll just talk some takeaways real quick from this game. Did Josh Heupel call Tim Banks into his office and just say, if the defense comes out and plays flat, you're gone? Because that feels like the only explanation for why this defense showed up the way it did tonight in the Swamp. Because any other week of the year, I would not have expected to see that. I would have expected DJ Lagway to throw for 300 yards and like 4 touchdowns tonight going into it. Just the way this defense has played for most of the season. But no, I mean, he threw for, like I said earlier, I think 116 yards and just the 1 touchdown. And, Tennessee doing a good job of keeping Florida. How many yards is that total? Let me pull it up here. Yeah, under 300 yards, 261 yards for the game. That's very good in an SEC football game. So I don't know what happened with this defense this week, but it was vastly improved from what we've seen for a lot of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tim Banks has been playing to save his job these past couple of weeks. I mean, I think Tennessee's defense has been the number one key to victory in the past 2 weeks now. And I mean, it'd be pretty cool if Josh Heupel brought him back there and talked some words to him, because I've been wanting Josh Heupel to be harder on people around him. So, I mean, I can't say whether or not that he had a meeting with Tim Banks, but it definitely seems like Banks is starting to step it up. And I've been not the biggest fan of him for a while at Tennessee, but it's nice to start getting see things change around. Yeah, so like a defense was that was one of my keys too. I mean, I thought Tennessee's defense is what won them this football game. Another takeaway that I had that I mentioned earlier is like, I really liked what I saw from Ethan Davis in this game. I think that he's got potential to be a pretty talented player for Tennessee moving forward. He'll definitely be tight end number 1 next season, barring injuries. It's good to see him getting some more playing time. And another takeaway that I have too is just like the rushing attack starting to finally turn it around after a couple of weeks of just not really getting the job done. Tennessee came out here, ran the ball down Florida's throats most of the game. Like I mentioned earlier, they shared the wealth amongst like 4 different players running the football. And, even though that Aguilar didn't have a crazy performance, I mean, he played efficiently enough, no turnovers, and he was starting to add him up there in the past couple of weeks because I was looking up some of his stats of the month of November, and he threw exactly as many touchdowns as interceptions. He threw 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the month of November. But here we are against Tennessee's most dangerous opponent most seasons. I mean, Tennessee, he comes out here, doesn't throw any turnovers. And I think that was another big takeaway from this game is just not turning the ball over, because you do not want to do that, especially in a hostile environment like Gainesville. And, I think Tennessee had limited problems from penalties, like not many incomplete passes. And, they just controlled the game throughout and throughout. I mean, I don't think they played flashy football, but they played winning football.
Yeah, you're right about the rushing attack. Just proving that you still got it on the ground is the big thing, because we've not seen this team run the ball effectively for a lot of SEC play. I think up until this game, Arkansas was the only other time where they went over 200 yards, 248 in this game, which is a little less than that Arkansas game. I think that was 264 officially. So good to see that. You mentioned the young guys stepping up too. That's obviously great for the future if you can have those guys step up in a big game like this. Special teams as well, I think, did some really nice things tonight, particularly in the punting aspect of special teams. We'll see what this team does to address the return man situation. You're kind of neutral in that so far. You're not really benefiting from it. Obviously, Boo was your returner for 9 games this season, so that's a part of it as well. But we'll see what they decide to do this offseason. If they decide, to kind of turn Morris loose, or if they go get somebody out of the transfer portal to try and address that. So, looking forward to that. Of course, you had the breaks went your way in this game. A lot of the breaks went your way in this game. They're when you go on the road, you're just guaranteed like 1 or 2 bad things are going to happen every now and again, it seems like. And Tennessee knows too well going to the Swamp that those things can happen. But they didn't in this game, really, for Tennessee, outside of maybe a penalty here and there. And what did they have in the first half? 1 penalty, maybe?
1, if that. I'm not even sure if they had a single penalty in the first half.
Do need to shout somebody out, actually. So on Daniel Guttrow's crew, Daniel Guttro is the white hat in this game. There's a man by the name of Jay Brown. Jay Brown goes to my church here in Nashville. So the next time I see Jay, I will be thanking him for his efforts in Gainesville and not throwing 10 flags on the balls in this game. Tennessee with him on the whistle, it's not as if they've just not done well. Because I tweeted it earlier in the game, or before the game started, that Guttro was on the whistle. Some people don't like him. I don't know why they don't like him. Like, the only game that he's officiated that I can remember Tennessee losing recently was that would have been the Georgia game in 2023. But we all knew Tennessee wouldn't win that game. So, and I'm glad to see David Smith did not make the trip to the Swamp and they sent him to Norman instead. You shouldn't be allowing Alabama guys to officiate SEC football games. That's a devious move, by the way, or just a sick and twisted move by the SEC, just sending a former Alabama quarterback to Norman after Oklahoma has won a game at Alabama. That's a cruel joke right there from the SEC.
Yeah, no, just wait till Peyton Manning becomes a ref, and then things are going to start changing around in Tennessee's favor.
Who's a random Tennessee football quarterback that you could send out there to be an official? That's a great question. Matt Sims would be my first guess.
Sims.
Just a rando that didn't really make a huge career out of his time at Tennessee.
I was thinking Nick Stevens, maybe too, if we wanted to go earlier than that. Another backup guy. Hey, how about the GOAT, Nathan Peterman? Throw him out there. I think some NFL fans don't realize that he went to Tennessee, and I think a lot of Tennessee fans are glad that people don't know that he went to Tennessee.
No, Tennessee fans do not claim him. The Pittsburgh fans can have him just because he had the better portion of his career there. Also, do want to shout out my childhood friend Adam Biancarri. He was at the game tonight. He's actually a Texas A&M fan, but he has been a part of now 2 broken streaks this season. He went to Texas A&M's game at LSU this year. That broke at, I don't know when the last time they won in Baton Rouge was, but they hadn't won since they joined the SEC, and they got their first win in there since joining the SEC. And then he showed up in Gainesville tonight to see the Vols beat Florida for the first time in 22 seasons. So he is the streak breaker now. So maybe there were some helpful things that offset the whole Tim Tebow intro and Urban Meyer ceremony and all that fun stuff that Florida thought it had going down there.
Hey, and if there's anyone from any officials from the University of Tennessee that's listening to this podcast right now, get that man free tickets right now to the Vanderbilt game right now and the bowl game while we're at it.
Yeah. Well, I think we have talked about everything we can so far from this game. I mean, again, historical night for Tennessee. Even though it's a win against a 3-8 football team, we are going to celebrate this one. Believe me. You win down there for just the 3rd time in a half a century. Joey Aguilar is just the 2nd quarterback to do that. Josh Heupel is 3-1 on the road in SEC play. That's the first time that has happened since Philip Fulmer's 3rd to last season in 2006. You scored 31 points in the Swamp, which is the most you've scored at least since 2001, if I'm not mistaken, because it was 24-10 in the Iceman's last hurrah down there in the Swamp. What am I missing? I feel like there's more.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of great stuff that Tennessee was able to pull off tonight down there in Gainesville. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us tonight here on the show. Again, thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us at this late hour. I'm sure all of you are very excited to celebrate this win. Have yourself a nice beverage if you haven't already to celebrate it. Heck, I know it's not Alabama, but maybe even smoke a cigar. You don't see this very often.
Hey, I still got mine right here. I'm holding it in my hand, the one that I didn't get to smoke this year. Maybe I'll smoke it tonight.
If you don't have a humidor, that thing is going to taste nasty. Jordan.
Oh, it's going to fall apart. There's shavings. Like I touch it and it falls apart.
That sounds awful. Cigars do taste good, though, when you purchase them fresh. And if you have a humidor. But yes, if you're new here, please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee, the voice of college football on YouTube. Again, we are live every Monday at 8 Eastern time. We will be live this Monday at 8 Eastern time to talk Vols and Commodore. It's a pretty big matchup in Neyland Stadium next week, an unusually large matchup between these two teams. We'll talk about that, update you on recruiting as well. That's pretty important. We'll go through the nitty-gritty of this court case as well that could potentially lock Joey in for another season down there in Knoxville. Would be huge for this program if you were to keep him around and bridge the gap. So we'll talk about all that on Monday. But again, thanks to all of you guys for jumping on with us tonight and enjoying this win. For Jordan Binkley, I am Tucker Harlan. We will talk to you guys again on Monday.